Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by 4patriots.com and Patriot Patch Company. Well, how's everybody doing tonight? Jim, why do you have a head behind you?
I don't.
With hair on it? There's a head on the desk with hair.
No, oh, that belongs to the boss of the house.
I think you should put that wig on.
It's not a wig. It's sewn onto the styrofoam head, and I'm not about to try. But it might be better looking than me.
Might be.
Anyway, I went to the range.
Yeah, about time.
Lo and behold, isn't that American? First thing we did was my son and I put together a brand new, out of the box, never been fired, Ruger American. The young sportsman model. I forget the exact name of it, but it's a 243 Winchester with a 20-inch barrel, and we put a nice Vortex scope on it with Memento. Does that sound right? Memento rings, something like that. Moment, whatever.
Moment rings. Yeah, they're on Amazon.
They're pretty good looking rings. As far as I know, they're still holding. Anyway, this rifle was not bought by my son. It was bought by my son, but not for himself. He's I don't want to say names and all like that because I don't think she's listening, but just in case. Or Sue, if she's listening, she already knows what's going on. Anyway, we bought it for my granddaughter, Zoe. And her birthday is the 13th of next month. So it'll be 12th, October, Columbus Day. She'll be 13, and she will be a junior hunter. She will be allowed to be in the woods literally by herself. Nice. In other words, that'll be within 100 yards.
Right.
And we sighted it in, zeroed it in. We actually burned about 15 rounds before we finally figured it out. Bring the damn thing up close and then adjust to the hole. And then that started working for us. Anyway, and we recorded some data on his air rifle. We shot quite a bit of his 22 caliber air rifle. Can you imagine a 22 caliber air rifle? Break barrel, crack it this way. 1,200 feet per second with a 17 grain pellet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to leave a stingy mark on my leg if I ever get that stupid.
A little more than that.
You're right. It'll penetrate the pants, take fabric with it, and cut it into the skin.
Mm-hmm. We get
it'll make a nasty wound.
Yeah.
And when we recorded data for that, I recorded some data for he brought his Ruger pistol caliber carbine to the house without a pistol brace, I must say. Anyway, pistol caliber carbine, Ruger pistol caliber carbine. I forget what the model is, but it's PCC, 9mm. So I gave him some 9mm reloads of mine, and he also had some 9mm factory ammo. Interestingly enough, my data averaged a little better than his data on his factory ammo versus mine, and my consistency was a little higher. I have the actual raw data on paper here on my desk, and recorded in a spreadsheet, of course. Chad, you've got a fan in the crowd tonight. Somebody by the name of Lee Gale.
Oh yeah, I used to work with her in Southern Shine. She used to do all the shipping for me.
Well, there you go, Ms. Gale. You got yourself a shout out from Chad. Anyway, and then after that, I went to steak dinner at the gun club, San Lee Gun Club, and I picked up a couple hats. One I paid for, the other one they gave to me. Because last year in April, I think it was, maybe March. You guys remember when they asked Marissa to make dinner?
Mm-hmm.
That was payback.
Nice.
A nice way of saying thank you. I'm not sure I should put this next commenter up or not, but we'll risk it and see.
You'll have to wait and see.
I don't know, Miss. You might have her deceived, Chad. Kidding, of course. Kidding.
So, Paul, what you
Anyway,
been up to? Oh,
go
were
ahead.
you not done, Jim?
I just was going to talk about the steak dinner for a minute. That's all, but that's fine.
Oh, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what we had, a steak dinner.
And
Shut up, Paul. That's not nice of what you just did to me. Go ahead, Paul. What'd you do when you got Guns Are Reloading this week?
if you look back over there are 8 boxes of ammunition that I have put together as far as test loads. So,
What caliber?
there is 308. There's 6XC and 223.
6X2?
XC.
X-ray Charlie.
XC.
Yeah, X-ray Charlie.
Okay. What does that fit?
It's a 6mm.
Yes, sir.
It's a little smaller case than 243.
Okay.
It's not recognized in the United States by SAMI. It's recognized by CIP. If you want to buy factory loads for it, you're going to buy them through Norma. But I have I built a rifle with it that starts out at 1 in 12 and goes to 1 in 10, and it's to shoot prairie dogs at long range. So it's been set up for Sierra 85 grain bowtail hollow points, 1530. But Sierra has decided they're not going to make anytime soon. So the test loads are 87 grain Hornadies. They're VMAX loads, and Nosler 75 grain bowtail plastic tip. So we're gonna work those up, see how those are gonna go. I got 100 rounds of Peterson brass that has to be fire formed in 308. And I have 60 rounds of Lapua Palma brass in 308 that is now running Spear 125 grain hollow point varmint load. And it's we're going to try to see how that's going to work out. Varget 4895, RL15, and 8208. So we'll see how that works. And then there's a whole bunch of different loads in 223, mostly with Spear 55 grain varmint loads, and some Nosler 77 grain bowtail hollow points. So there's enough testing there for a good 2 days. And then I switched over the 550 to do 9mm then. So I got about 2,000 plus to do a 9mm. So that's what I've been busy with.
Sounds great.
Mike?
Chad, do you do anything with fun guns reloading like that?
Do I do anything with reloading?
Well, a couple people are talking about that press handle on your screen, with that strange black shaft and pretty polished knob.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I've been using that lately to resize and cut down 6.5 Creedmoor because I saw an 8.6 blackout case a couple months ago, and I thought, I might have to make a gun for that. So I built a gun, and now I'm trying to reload ammo and form brass and figure out if I have to do any sort of neck turning on it. It's kind of turning into a pain in the butt caliber to work on. So I'm switching between that, switched over from a bunch of pulled powder that I was using to load 223. Now I'm switching over to Shooter's World. So I've been doing a bunch of velocity testing to come up with a load on that. And then what's the other one I'm working on? 357 Harriet, just kind of tinkering around with some Wildcat stuff right now.
Well, 357 Harriet, that ought to be a real beast.
Out of a
Depends on what you
12-inch
shoot it.
contender pistol.
It's a
10-inch barrel,
pussycat.
14-inch barrel.
I got a 12-inch barrel.
Okay. It's it'd be pretty healthy. You'll notice when you touch it off.
It's a pussycat.
Yeah.
It is. There's one
I got
buried
a
in
stuff
there
in
somewhere.
30 waters that kicks a little bit harder than that even.
Yeah. What?
357 Harriet is a great deer round.
Yeah.
Didn't say it was a bad round. I said it's a
No,
beast.
no, it's not. There's a whole lot worse than that one.
Yeah, I bought a 460 Weatherby about a year ago. That one is by far the hardest kick I've ever shot. That beats the 50 BMG hands down.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you get a concussion?
No, but I thought after taking 2 shots, I thought, I wonder what it's going to be like to take the break off of it. That was horrible. That was one mistake that I don't make anymore. I got one friend I'll let try it every once in a while without the brake on it. But
Put a can on it. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. I retract that. I retract that statement.
We can't
Never
have
mind
stuff anymore.
Yeah. You got to wait till some more lawsuits get rolled through the
I know.
Supreme Court. Then you'll be able to.
Send some money to Seattle, Washington, to the Second Amendment Foundation. They'll help you out.
So, well, there's a couple going through right now that when they're all said and done, and they're done with the Supreme Court, the NFA should no longer exist. So, there was a guy that Second Amendment Foundation was just waiting for the sentencings to happen so they can file the appeal, and they finally sentenced him last week. So on a case, so that's now going up the chain. But yeah, unfortunately, we just gotta kind of keep funneling money to the company, to the groups that are filing the lawsuits until we get another one back to the Supreme Court sooner rather than later, so that they can actually say, yeah, that stuff we said in Bruin, yeah, we meant that. So
I send money to the Second Amendment Foundation every month.
Yep. Great organization.
Yeah, it'd be great now that I have a kid that I can take hunting. It'd be great to be able to take him hunting and not have to tell him to keep putting his hearing protection on. And
right. So, yeah, definitely understand. So what I've been doing, we didn't have a show last week, but I went shooting. Had some fun with Ken and Ben Chaddock again. Good grief, that was almost 2 weeks ago now. And then Labor Day weekend, I took my boat out for its second trip. Had the motor running this time, so that was a good progress. Found out that the boat launch I've been using is just a wee bit too shallow, so that when you've got a couple of people on the pontoon boat, it sits down low enough so the prop likes to hit the bottom.
Ooh.
So, Yeah, but we've got a solution for that and a different launch for the same lake. So, as Jim saw before and Chad saw before we started, I have some of Paul's favorite cartridge. So, those of you who on Discord, you know what that cartridge is, and if you don't, then you should be on Discord so you know what it is. But 100 pieces of that, so I can do that. I've been looking for some more 30-30 brass. I've got a little bit to size up. I finally fired my 1903 when I went to the range, so wasn't too bad. It was on the paper at 50, so with open sights.
Caliber 30-06.
Yes, sir. 3 of the shots were trying to remember back. It's a long time ago for me. 3 of the shots were within a 6-inch group. The 4th one was a little more off because the last 2 shots I took, I put them both in the mag and then cranked them both off quick. So, but that was fun. So,
Pretty healthy recoil.
huh?
Steel butt plate, straight stock.
The stock's been sporterized, so I've got to find a replacement stock for it. It's one of the Peterson device rifles, but somebody sporterized the stock, so it's got one of those good old fashioned reds, allegedly spongy butt pads on it. But like they all do, they get hard.
Yep.
But I didn't really get a lot of recoil off of it. It wasn't bad because 1903 is way a bit. So,
You're
and I was
right.
only shooting 150 grain loads, so wasn't bad. So that's the other thing I was doing was firing some 45. Oh, the second shot I took with 30-06, the bench I was sitting at, the range Waterloo we shoot at, they've got garbage cans next to each of the benches, so you can make it a little easier to throw your crap away. So the second shot that I fired with the rifle, I jacked the brass. It flipped up, landed on the table, and rolled right into the trash can. Well, of course I'm going after it. And it's a good thing I did because I found 13 pieces of 30-30 brass in there.
Blue and reloading scroungers. That's what we
Right.
are.
So most of the time out at that range, the brass goblins do a good job of cleaning it up. So you don't really find much, but I was shocked to find that much 30-30 brass laying around. So I'm like, well, yes, I will give this a good home. So excuse me. Sometime this next week, I need to get my Lee press back up here because it's back there somewhere and I don't remember where I put it. So I can get my 30-30 loaded up so I can get out to the range, and because deer season is coming. So
I'm sitting here playing with this mannequin head of hair. I'm thinking evil thoughts.
that'd make a hell of a target.
Exactly.
Tannerite.
Lifelike too. Because I actually thought I haven't even handled it, but I thought it was styrofoam.
Get a 1-inch spade bit, bore a hole up in the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. Put it on a broomstick.
Put the tannerite in there, tape it shut.
Oh boy.
And then get something. I don't know, Paul. You think 22-250? That'd be fun.
If I did that, I'd use my 284 AI.
There you go.
280 AI.
You're right. That's
with
well
the can
damaged.
on it.
Yeah, that's an even better idea. The can that's never been used.
You take
If you're not going to shoot that, you should just donate it to me. All right?
Really?
Yeah, because I'll put it to good use.
I'll bet you would. You put it on Grandpa's 30-30.
No, I am not screwing that gun up. That gun is just the exact same condition it was when he bought it, and I'm not screwing it up. So, but it would work nice for my 6.5 need more. So, anyway,
I wouldn't let you pollute the bore with that particular caliber.
well, is that a 30 cal can?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, then my 300 blackout would be perfect. And my 308,
we'll just take the whole package,
right?
rifle and all. He doesn't shoot that thing enough.
No,
Got to get out there and exercise it.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, heck, even I'm getting out and shooting more. And I have 2 frickin' jobs. Oh, shit. That was thunder.
You may not be in the air much longer.
No, I should be fine. But the problem is my dog's thunder shirt is down here because the one that's normally kept upstairs is in the laundry. So excuse me just a moment. Chad, if you want to start off by telling us about your reloading history, how you got into reloading and all of that. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, I started reloading. I had to look back through my notes and see. I started reloading about 15 years ago, and I got a really good deal on a Mosin Nagant, and that's what kind of started it all. And the guy in town was big into reloading that ran the gun store. So I started getting more and more guns from him and started going in and wanting more and more ammo. And he finally told me one day, he goes, why don't you just reload your own ammo? I'll sell you all the components and the reloading presses for it. And it's been just a spiral from there. And I can tell you, everybody that told me, oh, you'll save a whole bunch of money reloading, not at all.
Yep,
now I find a piece of brass on the ground at the range and I go, that's new. I'm going to start reloading and get a gun for that caliber. It's been like I said, a downhill slide. And that's why I started Southern Shine. Was the wife didn't really like me spending all my money on guns and reloading stuff. So when I first started reloading, I was doing the normal corncob media tumbling, and I thought, I'll do it in the kitchen on the counter, run the tumbler and everything. And I got home from work, and everything had a coating of dust on it. I thought, this isn't going to work. So I started tinkering around with silica sand, tinkering around with wet tumbling with
Jim,
water.
Jim, what's your silica sand story?
It wasn't silica; it was regular sand.
Oh, regular sand. Okay.
But yeah,
I
Jim,
did regular sand too.
Jim, you need to tell this story.
Yes.
You're interrupting Chad. You're interrupting our guests.
Tell the story, Jim.
Tell the story, Jim.
I'd like to see there's other people that use sand out there.
This is for all you sand addicts out there, okay? I made the mistake of putting about 20 cases of 30-06 brass in a plastic bottle, flat-sided plastic bottle, not square, not round, rectangular. Put some sand in it, and I'm talking about regular street sand, beach sand, whatever you want to call it. Matter of fact, the sand I got was white sand from the glass plant. Good abrasive, good abrasive. Put it all together, tied it onto, literally tied it onto the wheel of my Volkswagen Rabbit that I drove at the time. Tied it onto the hub of the wheel. Tied it on good and tight and rode that rascal down the road about 3 mile back. I ruined 20 cases of 30-06 brass. You ever heard such a dumbass thing to do, Chad?
Hey, when silica sand didn't work, I went and tried Black Beauty. So,
Ooh.
Oh my God, that's obsidian.
That's a quick way to ruin some brass right there.
Yes, it is.
And then
Works
I started
great.
kind of tinkering around with metals, and I got into the pins. And at the time, I'd gotten a Dillon 550.
Mhm.
And I started busting decapping pins all the time because I had the pins that I'd gotten were going in at an angle through the flash hole. And I got tired of that. So I started trying to cut the pins in half and see if that would work. And that was a pain in the butt to do. So then I came up with a particular size of media that worked out of stainless steel 304. And since then, it's been Southern Shine media, and I've been using that and selling it to customers and selling it to a whole bunch of OEM reloading companies.
Now, is this
That's
needed
what's
for
that.
dry tumbling or wet tumbling or both?
For wet tumbling. Yeah, it doesn't work for dry tumbling. The whole thing that I've always told people with wet tumbling is you got to get rid of all of that carbon, all that soot, all that buildup, all that junk, and dump it out with the water. And that's kind of always what worried me about tumbling with walnuts or corn cob. All that stuff's kind of stuck on those pieces of corn cob and stuck on those pieces of walnut. And you're not really ever disposing of it. You're just moving it around. So yeah, we only recommend doing it with wet tumbling. It actually won't work with dry tumbling. Plus a lot of those reloading vibrators just can't handle that weight.
So what do you use? Tumbler or something like that? Rock tumbler?
I actually built a tumbler out of steel with a motor and a reducer and a couple rods on it, and made a PVC pipe about that big with two ends on it and a 6-to-4 reducer, and put a couple little baffles in there, and that's what I use.
Wow.
You can run everything from 32, 25 auto all the way up to 50 BMG in it.
Nice.
Plus, I wanted to be able to do big bulk runs when I did it. I didn't like to have to do little runs.
By bulk run, you mean what, like 530-06?
Yeah, 530-06, 2 gallons worth of 223 brass.
That's pretty hefty load.
Yeah, and since then, that's been. I spend most of my time either working, reloading, or shooting.
So, your pins, how are they? How do you sell them? By the pound?
Yeah, we sell them by the pound. I actually have I don't have time in my given day to sell them myself, so I actually ship them out in bulk to a guy out in Sweet Home, Oregon, TB Bullets, Travis Frick, and he actually sells them along with his bullets and package them and sells them all by the pound. You can get them. Normally, we recommend 5 pounds if you're using like one of the small Frankfurt Arsenal tumblers, all the way up to I've got guys that'll buy 50 pounds or 100 pounds and use them in great big cement mixers. But all of it's 304 stainless steel. It's ever so slightly magnetic, so you really don't want to drop it on your carpeting. That's probably the biggest complaint that we've had is people dumping it on the carpeting or dumping it down the sink and having it get stuck in the trap in the plumbing. I got to clean out my plumbing trap every once in a blue moon in the sink that I dump it into because I do get pieces down there. But
you don't use it. Don't use it in the kitchen sink with the disposal.
No, don't use it in the kitchen sink. Don't clean off your wife's laminate countertop with a rag and a whole bunch of those pieces on it. It'll ruin a lot of stuff.
Sounds like the voice of experience, sir.
Oh, it's been a long trial and error.
Spudman 76 what size are the pins?
So they're not actually pins. They're in the shape of almost what I would call a half of a heart or a half of a diamond cut right down the middle. And they're 30 thousandths by about 95 thousandths. And one of the things that I really wanted to make sure was if you get a piece of the material stuck in a flash hole and you go to run your decapping pin through, it's sized that it'll push the piece of media right through with the primer. But one of the nice things, as opposed to the pins, when you're rinsing out the brass with our stainless steel media, it doesn't tend to stick in the cases like the pins do. It's pretty free forming. In a given, if I'm running 2 gallons capacity of 223, I might get 15 or 20 pieces total at the end when I'm looking through my bucket. But yeah, they're size specifically, and also the angle of them is such that when you decap and you remove that primer, the pin will, or the media will go through and it'll clean out the inside of your primer pocket, which is one of the big things that a lot of the guys that do precision rifle, they want to make sure that they always get precise primer seating. And sometimes that carbon will build up in there and you'll have issues with your primer being up a couple thousandths or down a couple thousandths.
Do you happen to have a photograph online somewhere of what the media actually looks like?
Yes, I do. If you you can either find us on Facebook on Southern Shine Media, and I've got all sorts of pictures of the media, and I've got pictures of the clean brass, or you can go to tbbullets.com and you can kind of see a comparison of what it looks like by the pins, what it looks like by a penny, to give you an idea of how big it is. I'd try to show you right now, but I don't think there's
Wow.
there's 2 pieces of it on my finger right there.
Forgive me, I don't mean anything disrespectful. That looks like a sweat bee on your fingertip.
Yeah,
No,
they're very
you can tell.
They're very small.
Yes, sir.
Nick says they absolutely do not get stuck in the flash holes, and it works great. Chad sent Nick a care package to try out because Nick's the only one currently that does wet tumble. Because I ultrasonic and dry tumble, Paul ultrasonics, Jim dry tumbles. So Nick said he's done a few batches and definitely does it. Not, he said doesn't get stuck. And he didn't do a comparison, so he doesn't know for sure. But from what I've seen, seems to do a little better job than the pins do.
It's got sharper edges.
Yeah, it's got sharper edges, and one of our big things is the pins over time, the top of that cylinder that is the pin.
Mm-hmm.
Once that rounds off a little teeny bit, you lose a lot of your cleaning surface on there.
Right.
And that half diamond, you always have several other cleaning surfaces on there. And I was looking back, it was 2011 when I started running the Southern Shine Media. And I've added media to it throughout the years, but I've still got probably out of my 15, 20 pounds that I put in each time I run, I'd say there's probably 5 pounds of legacy media in there. That's
okay.
That's a good 11 years old now.
Yeah. So that's not bad. 1/3 after 11 years.
Yeah, that other
Oh, wow.
2/3 ended up on the floor or in my drain.
That you're not supposed to do.
Right.
So being stainless steel, is it magnet? I mean, can you pick it up with a magnet?
You have to use a super magnet. If somebody wants to pick it up, I recommend that they use a neodymium magnet.
Okay.
It's not going to work with those Frankfurt Arsenal,
Right.
those magnets that they sell. It's the magnetism from stainless steel most commonly comes from the friction of the cutting. And the way that we cut ours, there's not much friction, so very little of the magnetism transfers to the media as you're creating it. The other way that it comes is the metallurgical structure of the stainless. And we use a particular stainless that is just not magnetic in its structure.
Mm-hmm. I can vouch for that. I do machine work on the same exact alloy that Chad told me earlier. I do quite a bit of machine work on that alloy, stainless. That's one of the ways we determine whether or not it's stainless or carbon steel is with a simple magnet. Carbon steel moves with your magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Stainless looks at you and says, what do you want? Pick me up if you want me. Besides your media, from George Grips SK. Besides your media, what liquid concoction do you use with wet tumbling?
When I run all my batches, I use cold water. Doesn't have to be distilled. It doesn't have to be any fancy water, just regular tap water that's cold. And I'll use a little bit of lemon shine, and that kind of determines how tarnished, how dirty is your brass. And I'll use the cheapest junk dish detergent that I can possibly get at the dollar store. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then when you get done and you go to take and rinse it, you rinse it a couple times to make sure that you get all that citric acid off there. Otherwise, you will get weird tarnishing. And the important thing is to always just use cold water, because cold water will negate a lot of the tarnishing that you get on the brass. Once I get done dumping out all the water, I'll run it through a little sifter, take and dump it out onto the towel. And then like you see those guys on the bowling shows where they polish their bowling ball by going like this, I'll put it all into a great big towel, do that a couple times, and then lay it out overnight.
Been there, done
But yeah,
that.
just water, lemon shine, and dish detergent.
Do you have, say, like a specific like measurement of the Lemmy Shine and the Dawn or the dish detergent as a general?
So if I'm going to be running into one of the Frankfurt Arsenal tumblers, one of the small ones, I would say probably a 245 shells worth of dish detergent, and then maybe a 9mm shell worth of lemon shine.
Okay.
The dish detergent or the soap is not a big thing, but if you do use too much lemon shine, you'll realize that your brass will go from a nice shiny brass color to almost an orange color. And if
It looks
you
like
do way too much, it'll almost get a weird tiger striping to it.
Yeah, it looks like some bad rose gold
Yeah.
is the easiest way to describe it.
And the age of the brass will also determine that. You'll find 30-06, for instance, the real old 30-06 from World War II. If you use very much lemon shine in there, you'll immediately start to see that rose gold coming out. So yeah, more is better with the soap, but less is better with the lemon shine. And it's one of those things that takes a little bit of trial and error. Nothing bad happens if you put too much or too little in. Thankfully, you'll never really ruin your brass.
Yeah, that's
Just start
the nice
over
thing
again.
about that. Yeah, we kind of answered that already, Jim. We just didn't put
I
a
didn't.
question up.
Unless Paul's got it, I didn't touch that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Paul, we
we
kind of
answered-
covered that one. So, next one though. So, B Money 1970 says big FA tumbler takes 145 ACP case, a Lemmy Shine, and a squirt of dish soap. So,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and then Paul Loud is making himself known, Jim.
I have no idea what the gent's talking about.
They were talking about old tarnished brass and how it'll destroy the brass, like old World War II brass. And so he's saying, at your age, you better stay away from Lemmy Shine because you're fragile and brittle.
Oh well, sorry, but I don't understand. No complaints, senora.
It'll
Don't
just give
tell
you
me
that nice
English.
rose gold complexion.
Don't you start either. All loud. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. Appreciate your attention. Now you gotta get Mr. Nelson. You gotta get Mr. Chad. You gotta get Mr. the whippersnapper up there in the corner. One thumb his nose at you, Paul.
That's right, sucker. Bring it.
Hey, listen, we got him where he can shoot dime-sized groups now. Okay?
Just like Jim?
Just like Jim, yeah.
He doesn't tell you, but the dime is about 4 inches in diameter.
Yeah, the question is the distance that he's shooting from.
2 feet.
With a shotgun.
Yeah, that would be Mr. Nelson. The one that can't hear is because he took a earmuffs off. He doesn't want the attention. How about you, Loud? What do you think?
So STL Ammo Man said he uses brass juice. I've never tried it, so I'm gonna get into the wonderful world of media tumbling. I got to figure out which tumbler I want. So
Here's the dime.
No sides of the dime compared to his fingers.
So, yeah, even at 300 yards, you can shoot a dime size group
yep.
with a handgun.
One shot works well.
STL Ammo Man, Paul Loud's got a question for you. He wants to know brass juice is super expensive, isn't it? No, to make brass juice, the problem is it doesn't really work really well in your blender. It really tears up your blender.
God. Particularly if your blender has a plastic case, plastic wall, plastic pitcher. Oh my God.
Yeah, get a KitchenAid because they're still glass. And occasionally you can find some Oster ones that are still glass. But yeah, pretty much everything else is plastic. And that brass will just right through it.
Don't try it at home, Paul Loud.
Yeah, I've never used any of the brass juice. I know there's guys out there that swear by using car polish, that'll use automotive soap. They'll buy some of the OEM guys will actually you can buy citric acid crystals, like the cheap version of lemon shine on eBay, and they'll run through 50-pound bags of that. But yeah, for the run-of-the-mill person, just hardware store lemon shine and dish detergent.
Yep.
So Loud, you got your answer.
I know I use New Finish with my walnut media.
Yes, so do I.
But I don't see the point of I don't think car wax would work really well for wet tumbling.
Well, New Finish is probably what he's calling car wax because it has the same aroma, same scent.
But yeah, for wet tumbling, it wouldn't do any good.
You're right.
So.
Yeah, one of the main things you got to watch out for is make sure there's no ammonia in any of the stuff that you're putting in there, because you will start to get brass degradation.
Yep.
From that.
I mean, the Brasso that I use is bad.
Yes.
So I wonder if that could be why those brass pipes on the lube oil filters on board the ships I was on, they would have failures occasionally because they were all nice, bright and shiny, and we'd polish them up with Brasso.
Yeah.
We were told to.
Mm-hmm. So Craig and MZ.
And lube oil under pressure squirting across the engine room on occasion. Didn't know which was going to go next. Had a hole right through the pipe, wall of the pipe.
Yep.
Well, didn't need a hole, it just weakened it. The ammonia in it weakened it and then brittled it.
Yep.
Once it bursts, that's it. You're done.
So Craig and MZ said he's using a car wash with wax. So yeah, I don't know if that'd do any good either, but I guess if you find something that works, stick with it. So
here's one.
Gerald Harrell says.
Sorry, Mike. All right, I'll go with it. 6-pack project come up with a homemade remedy recipe called simple vinegar and soap.
So Gerald Harrell said he uses white vinegar, but the pH has got to be about 2.5 to 3. So that's the thing you got to watch out with on any of your vinegars. Just make sure it's really low pH. So Andrew K, I'm looking to start reloading ultrasonic versus tumbling with Southern Shine Media. Sell me. All right, it's pretty simple. Do you want your brass shiny or not? If you want your brass shiny, Southern Shine Media, wet tumbling. If you don't care about your brass being shiny, ultrasonic, because ultrasonic will not shine your brass ever. It'll clean it, but it will be dirty. It will look dirty.
Yeah, it'll give it kind of a tarnished look almost to it.
Yep. And because I like I said, I wet tumble, but see, I then throw it in my walnut media. So, and then it shines it up. So, um, it just doesn't. The nice thing is when you ultrasonic it and then into the walnut media, it's not as dusty, like you're saying. One of the concerns about that, um, and also then it polishes it up. So, and dries it out at the same time.
Now, I like ultrasonic because it leaves the case necks a little rough. They're not as smooth as as a polished case is.
Right.
So, and that gives me a better grip on the bullet. And again, it's depending upon your the way you're reloading and how you're hand loading for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if I'm doing pistol, they can all go into a tumbler full of walnut. I mean, I care less.
Yeah, vibratory tumbler, and away you go.
Right. But ultrasonic, I have a 15 quart ultrasonic, and yeah, all my rifle stuff goes through that.
Yeah.
But I'm hand loading different than most people.
Right. Yeah, you're way down the rabbit hole.
Here's one for you, Mr. Nelson, from your favorite Paul.
Sandpaper necks? Why? Because I've already taken and turned them all down. They're all within, anywhere between whatever gun it between 14,000 and 10,000, depending upon the gun. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a gun that I don't turn necks for.
So, Craig NMZ said he just wanted to clarify to make sure that he lets everybody know he's using the car wash with the wax instead of the dish soap. So, It's just another detergent. So,
yeah, it's one of those things. Everybody, you can talk to 20 people online, and every single one of them does it a little bit differently, and they get the results that they want normally off of it.
Yep. So Paul Loud, just because I feel like it, what the way to do that is you don't use sandpaper. What you do is you get one of those white Scotch Brites, and then you run that around on the inside of and that'll rough up your neck for you. That's the way to get it done.
I have a way to rough up the neck. It's 1 inch hemp, 13 turns, sudden jerk at the end. I'll rough up anybody's neck, particularly you, Mr. Loud. And yes, I could tie it to hangman's noose. One of the simplest knots I know.
That is not a simple knot. It's a
Love
time-consuming knot. So,
got all that neck turn. I was going to say, I'm not looking forward to having to turn necks on this 8.6 blackout. And you're turning necks on everything you do already?
Yeah.
Like I said, he's way down that rabbit hole.
He's a prairie dog shooter, and he's getting results, he says.
That's what
basically
counts.
He's a bench rush, F-class shooter. Yeah, prone bench rush, that sort of thing.
The big thing is that I shoot prairie dogs for the fun. I reload because you have to, and the one thing that people don't understand here is that I go through barrels. Okay, because I don't care. I go out there and I'll shoot a gun till it's hot, set it aside, pick another one up, and shoot it till it's hot. And my loads are warm to begin with, so yeah, barrels are just are there for gunsmiths to keep in business.
Mike, you got something shiny in your left hand. What you got?
Ooh.
It's a barrel.
Ooh.
That looks like I see 14 inches of steel. Is it threaded into a pistol action?
No.
Oh.
Where the heck is my camera?
That looks like a fluted barrel. Is that fluted?
Nope.
No? Okay.
So this is a lovely 6.5 by 284 barrel.
Going down the rabbit hole. Hang on, folks.
How's that look, Paul?
Looks like a nice
Yeah. Chamber. Ooh. Now
How's that
one,
look?
that one's a little worn there. Yeah, those lands are getting a little crispy.
This is Ken's barrel
Ah,
from that gun he got rebarreled.
okay. Yeah, he crispied those up pretty good. They're
So
wow. Look how far that lands have moved on that thing.
yeah. So kids, when we're talking about a shot out barrel,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. Notice how you see that line there. That's where the rifling is supposed to start.
Holy shit.
Versus
Yeah.
here, where it actually kind of starts.
Been worn out and blown away.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot of fire cracking in there too.
uh-huh.
And he's got there's some copper sitting around there too. Boy.
Yep.
I'd hate to have to clean that thing out.
Yeah, so that is exactly why I had Ken drop the barrel off to me.
Yeah, you're not cutting that one back 2 inches and reusing that one.
Nope. This is for decoration.
Yeah.
Chad, there's a good question for you. If you don't mind me putting on you on the spot. Go ahead, please.
So 454 Boar wants to know, will Southern Shine Media peen case necks if the tumbler runs too long? Oh, you're muted, Chad.
I'd say it will if you go on vacation and come back 4 or 5 days later, but I've run stuff overnight before and woken up in the morning and forgot that I had stuff tumbling and didn't have any issue with it. You will notice, though, when you start off, your first couple batches, it will scratch it a little bit more. It'll take probably 3 to 4 batches to kind of wear the media in. We used to recommend people run it overnight just with nothing in there, even just to round the edges, the sharp edges off just a little teeny bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless you
grass.
go way overboard on it, you won't have any issues with peening necks.
Well, the peening would cause what's called work hardening in the brass.
It's got to be annealed anyway.
You're right. So, you and I would do that.
But
one nice thing about the stainless tumbling, though, is when you get done, you can anneal and everything looks beautiful. You don't have partially annealed looking brass like you would running it through a dry tumbler.
Mm-hmm.
Start off with a consistent look to all of your case necks.
That would look a lot like 7.62 NATO brass Lake City match.
Mm-hmm.
That's no crimp, no crimp on the primer, no crimp on the neck. It's all reloaded, all hand loaded, whatever. But yet you still have the beautiful annealing blue color up on the neck of the case, just barely halfway down between the neck and the shoulder.
Like Lapua brass or a high end brass that's out there nowadays. Which is good that we have it, because it seems like Winchester and Remington and Federal just aren't making brass for hand loaders anymore.
Yeah, not right now. They're still trying to get caught up. I have asked a couple of them when I've seen them or have talked to them, and they will be getting back to making brass for reloaders. But you're still looking at component issues and production issues. So, because they're still making so much ammo. But Nick, if you listen to this, otherwise I'll send this to you too, in case you bailed already. George Grip SK said, "Hey Nick, I just finished listening to the last podcast with you talking about your bench build in the new place. I know you were trying to save money with that Menards countertop." And then he said a butcher block. So, but I don't know. The 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood I glued together works fine for me. So, and that was 1 4x8 sheet cut down. So, just to clear this up, this 6.5 by 284 barrel that I just showed, Ken never fired a round through the barrel. This was a rifle that was given to him by a family member, and I believe it was an uncle. And the family member that owned the rifle is the one that shot it out. So, not Ken. So,
Are you going to hang it up?
Huh?
Are you going to hang it up?
I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
I'll tell you what's kind of fun if you have access to a mill. To take and mill the chamber, and right when the bullet will go into the rifling, nice and flat, almost like a case gauge. And then I'll put a round in there, super glue it, and then kind of hang it up on the wall so you can kind of see how.
That'd be cool.
Kind of see how it works. It's just an interesting talking piece, I've always thought. I've done it with shotguns and rifle barrels and pistol barrels. And
yeah, that could be cool.
It's neat, too, to be able to see or to show people kind of a cross-section of what does it look like to have a shot-out barrel or when you run your rifling out. And
exactly. So, yeah, and put a cartridge in there just so you can see just exactly how bad it is. So, yeah, because I can make a dummy cartridge. I have 6.5 284 dies. So, but Craig NMZ wants to know, would tumbling really work hard in brass cases? I'd like to see a test on that. Like he was saying, if you let it go ridiculously long, yeah. Because you're literally, when you're tumbling, you're literally taking the stainless steel and pounding it into the brass. If you do that for a long enough time, then it will affect it. So,
question is, how long will be too long? Obviously, Chad said overnight. I've dry tumbled overnight. Never. The only thing I had in the morning was polished brass.
You could dry tumble for a week. It's not going to do it because it doesn't have enough.
Right, it's not aggressive enough. However, the stainless steel pellets you're using, the media, the granules of the media you use, is much harder than the brass.
Right. Well, I don't think it's that though. It doesn't have to have some type of impact. I mean, so you're doing it in a liquid,
but
so it's liquid. You're doing it in a liquid, so all it is just sliding. I mean, it isn't really pounding on anything; it's sliding.
Right.
Well, there is motion, so the pellets are dropping against it, but they are cushioned by the liquid media.
Right. Yeah.
So it probably depend on the size of your tumbler, the amount of media and brass you have in there, the speed at which you're tumbling at the time. There's quite a few different.
Could you make it happen? Yes. Is it going to happen on a normal basis? No.
Agreed.
George Grip SK, according to Nick, no, it will not get stuck in your primer pockets, even after rinsing. So.
Yeah, we already covered that question.
Yeah, I can tell you in the hundreds of thousands of rounds that I've reloaded since I started running Southern China, I've never busted a decapping pin because of media getting stuck in there. Berdan primers, yeah. Small little flash holes, yeah, but never because of.
Well, I mean, that's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
So.
Keep
Never
keep it out of Lapua brass with the small flash holes. Because you said they're 90 thousandths, right?
Yeah, 30 thousandths by 95 thousandths.
Okay, 30 by 95, and Lapua brass is 80 thousandths for the flash hole. For the small, for their flash holes are small.
So I mean,
That shouldn't. I've run it with Lapua 308 and 6.5 and 6.5 or 6 arc, and I've never had any get stuck in there because it will pivot as you're running that decapping.
Okay.
It won't wedge itself in there at an angle.
yeah. So does that make sense? So.
No, Paul out. I am not filling a tumbler full of Lapua brass. No, not happening.
So, Jim, there's a question for you.
Right here. Me and my girlfriend are right here.
Oh,
Going to
so,
the mannequin party tonight. Sorry about banging the microphone around.
no, you're fine. So,
That's a good question I haven't seen yet. Paul or Craig NMZ. How long are you guys tumbling for? I usually tumble 30 minutes and good to go. My brass isn't very dirty most of the time.
so he's
That's
wet
the-
tumbling.
Yeah, how about that, Chad? How long
Yeah, I
you
would
wet
say
tumble?
if you're picking your brass right up off of the bench after you shoot it, and you're not getting a lot of blowback and blasts coming back through the brass where you're getting carbon built up, 30 minutes will do it. If you're picking up range brass that's been sitting out in the sun on the grass or on the gravel for 4 or 5 months, I would say probably an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes you should be good for. I've done some stuff that almost looks like it's absolutely black steel when
Mhm.
I tumbled it, and I ran it for 2 hours and maybe 30 minutes or so, and it looked brand new.
Nice.
So yeah, you'll kind of look at your brass and determine the cleaner it is, the less it's going to take.
Mm-hmm. And that's the nice thing is, you know, just like vibratory tumbling, you can stop it and take a look and see where you're at. You know, grab a couple pieces and look at them. And if you're not good enough, then you can start it back up. So for ultrasonic, somebody asked about that earlier. No more than 30 minutes. So I've got the Hornaday ultrasonic cleaner, so that gives you an idea of what size it is, and no more than 30 minutes, usually 15.
I run mine for about 45 minutes, but then again, it's
You've got a huge
15
one and a lot of
liters, yeah.
brass.
right.
I don't. So
If I'm doing a small amount of brass, I'll fill it with water, put my solution in a jar,
Yeah.
a glass jar, then put it in that way. Then yeah, half hour it's done.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
brass I wouldn't recommend tumbling if anybody's shooting 5.7 by 28, and you're shooting out of an FN firearm, don't wet tumble it because you will lose that coating on there.
Yeah.
And I can tell you through experience on that.
Oh, come on now. You're talking about reloading my favorite caliber, 5.7. Not.
That's a nightmare caliber. I'll tell you what. That's one of the ones that I wish I never started reloading.
It's an answer to a problem that didn't exist.
Chad, you should join our Discord because there's a couple of guys in there that are reloading it and been talking quite a bit about it. So I'll send you an email link.
All right. Yeah,
So.
I've been shooting it now out of a Smith & Wesson. Yeah, Smith & Wesson.
How do you like it?
I like it a lot because I can actually wet tumble it. It doesn't need to have that lacquer coating on there because it's not a gas blowback.
Mm-hmm. I've shot the Ruger, I've shot the Smith, and I've shot the Rock, and from Palmetto State Armory. I like the Rock the best. So, but
What's the
But-
lockup on the Rock? Is it a similar lockup to the Smith and Wesson?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Tilting barrel,
Yeah,
right?
really, anyone shooting the FN stuff. That's the only one that I've seen people have issues with. They've run into
Yeah.
issues with it.
I don't have FN money, so.
If you got FN money, you don't reload for it.
Correct. So. Dun, 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 dun.
Bench Addict says he dry tumbles for 1 to 2 hours. He dry tumbles in rice.
Yes, he does.
So
Oh, that was the other one thing I tried doing was wet tumbling in rice. That did not work.
Yeah, I don't think that would work out well.
No.
So. Well, I'm surprised they don't have an actual Rock in the daily deals. They usually do. I'm 2 pages in already, so. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Wow, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it must be nice all you people living outside of Illinois that can still get those emails from Palmetto State and know that you can buy everything that they have.
Yeah. Delayed blowback striker fired is the Rock. So. But yeah, I've shot, like I said, I've never shot an FN because I didn't want to. So on the other three, any of the other three you can't go wrong with, but I would choose the Rock over the Ruger personally. So, because first off, the mags are cheaper, and second, the mags hold more. But anyway.
Yeah, I've hoped more and more as these companies are coming out with 5.7s that ammo starts to become more abundant. And
well, pre-COVID there was 2 companies at SHOT that had PDWs in 5.7 that got killed because of SHOT or because of COVID. So allegedly they're still in the works. That'll help. You've got Ruger with the PCC now. You've got a couple more companies that are making 5.7 uppers for your ARs. Smith's now, you've got not that Ruger's not a legitimate firearms company, but you've got one of the bigger ones that, has huge fanboy followings. That's now making a 5.7. So it's continuing to gain traction. But you know who we really need to get to make the high 5.7? High Point. Game changer.
Mike, you're terrible.
Yes, I am.
Carbine or Problem Solver?
Both.
Either
But
one
they're
can be
not
used
going
for-
to. We
either
already
one
asked.
Can be used for paperweight.
High Points actually are decent guns. The thing is just like a Kimber, you need to shoot it and make sure it works. If it doesn't work, then you send it back to the manufacturer and make them fix it. So High Point's got the best warranty in the industry. So
I mean, they already came out with a 10mm, so
it is nice shooting.
they are progressing.
So their 10 mil pistol is actually really nice to shoot. So, and speaking of Paul Loud, so is their 30 Super Carry. So, but what people should go shoot though is they should shoot the YC9, the brand new one they just launched on August 14th. That actually, you wouldn't, if you didn't know it was a high point when you picked it up to shoot it, you'd be amazed once you got told it was a high point. So, because it doesn't look like the standard old ones. So it's not the big bulky. So it's optics ready. But anyway, so, but yeah, there's a couple other companies that are looking at getting into the 5.7 game. So I don't see Glock getting into it, but I mean, if they did, if Glock ever gets into the 5.7 or the 30 Super Carry, either way, I think that'll seal their success.
Mhm.
So,
Who wants to shoot a staple gun?
lots of people, Paul. Jim likes them in 40, so I mean, he's doubly twisted.
Yeah, really.
You're just as twisted. I have 2 40 caliber handguns. How about you, Mike? How many you got? 1, 3, 5?
I'm down to 1. I sold my first gen Smith & Wesson M&P. I've still got my SR40, but then over my shoulder in the gray safe is a high point in 40. But that's my kids. So it shoots. It's actually pretty accurate, amazingly. So
You can convert them to 357 SIG if you want to.
yeah.
That's
You're
better.
right.
That's better.
Yeah.
You know,
But that's a bottleneck cartridge, which requires lubricant.
And your point?
I stick with my carbide dies.
There you go.
carbide dies are fine, but if you're reloading in bulk, you got to use some one shot in there in your bullet feeder in order to make the dies slick up a little bit. Even with carbide, a little bit of one shot in that bowl up there as the cases go through just makes it just so much faster and easier to reload.
Well, what we're talking about, and we haven't mentioned, is the fact that I did bring out the fact that Paul said 357 SIG, but I brought out the fact that it's a bottleneck cartridge, which means if you try putting a bottleneck cartridge in even a bottleneck cartridge die without lubricant, it will stick, just like it does in a steel die. That's why we have to put lubricant in there. Doesn't matter if it's carbide or steel, it's got to be lubricant because if you don't, it will stick. And we all know what happens when you have a brass cartridge stuck in a steel die.
I know.
And you can't get it out.
We've proved it here that we cannot get.
I do not know. I do not know
in a steel die. Okay, we have proved it on this show. You cannot stick a cartridge case in a steel die.
I don't think
he
Jim was here.
He may have done it on this show, but that's not real life. I'm here to tell you because I did it 6 times one night with a damn shit white brass. Sorry, I'm getting flustered. The crap come out of where is Lee Precision?
Hartford, Wisconsin.
Yeah, the crap that comes out of Hartford, Wisconsin.
Sorry, we took a case.
Yeah.
I don't think Jim was here for that.
I was on the air with you guys that night. Mike couldn't get the case stuck for love of their damn money.
We went and sprayed it down with brake cleaner. Okay, all right. Sprayed the die with brake cleaner. Case went in. Case came out.
I got help, and I got help from the peanut gallery.
And I even took a 243 piece of brass and resized it to 308 and still couldn't get it stuck. So that's funny.
And 357 SIG, you really don't need a lot of lube on. Like I say, if you're running it through a case feeder, it just a little one shot in there and it's fine. And you still should, if you're feeding it through a case feeder, you still should put a little one shot on there, even with a carbide die, because it's going to make it so much easier for you to resize and make your reloading much easier.
Hey, Paul, have you ever used, I don't know what it's called, like cosmetic grade lanolin before?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take
Dylan lube.
Yeah, I was gonna say I switched over from one shot. I've been using like a mixture of lanolin and heat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Homemade
The
Dylan
lanolin
lube.
you're talking about is pharmaceutical grade.
Yeah, pharmaceutical grade. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I used to reload on my 1000 308, okay, without carbide dies. And so we would take military cases and throw them in and take just a towel with some lanolin on it in a tumbler and let it tumble for about a half hour. Then take it out, dump it right into the case feed on the 1000 and then run it that way. So that's,
Yeah. Now I am confident that at some point in time in my life I will actually stick a case. Just because you do. But so to let you in on the backstory, Chad, we were actually doing a show on how to remove stuck cases. I could not get a case stuck. Lee dies.
On air.
Yeah, Lee 308 dies. And I tried to do this before. We tried to do a stuck case many years ago, and I couldn't get it stuck then either. And so I literally took a 243 Win case, put it in the shell holder, bone dry, after cleaning it off with brake clean, cleaned the die with brake clean, pulled the decapping pin out, and I used like a third of a can of brake clean on this frickin' between the die and the decapping pin and the expander ball. Put it all back together and ran it up. Resized the case perfectly. No sticking.
Yeah, it's like Murphy's Law. It only happens when you don't want it to.
Right? So I then took and pounded this die on my bench, trying to jam the case up in there, and still had no luck. Yeah, it's just straight comedy. So,
Well, it says you did it wrong, Mike.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not. What could I say?
I wouldn't even see that one. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, Spudman76 said he likes Imperial Wax. That'd be this stuff right here. So, I always keep this on the bench because if I'm doing any demos, I use one shot normally when I'm reloading rifle cases. Because what I do is I'll throw it in a block and spray it from all four angles, let it dry. That's the key to one shot. Got to let it dry. But normally if I'm doing demos, I'll just grab my Imperial sizing wax and use that because it's handy. So
I am a big believer in Imperial sizing wax. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only thing to use.
Yeah, it's amazing.
For rifle. It just.
Do you guys ever use the Imperial dry lube or anything?
I have not, but I at NRA last year I was talking to Rob, or NRA this year I was talking to Robin Sharpless from Reading about it, and he says it's better. So, but
yeah, I've had pretty good luck, especially if you're starting to stick your necks at all.
Yeah,
I found the dry lube.
I have switched away from using expander balls in my sizing dies, and using a a, a pin gauge to expand my necks. Okay, and from Porter's Precision, they use it. They take a pin gauge, bevel the nose of it, and so you're getting plus or minus a 10,000ths of an inch one way or the other. What you ask for, you can go plus or minus, and I use that Imperial neck sizing lube specifically, so I get no drag whatsoever on the case, and it just makes it so much nicer because it'll go from on my 550. I'll start with a body sizing die and just size the body and set the shoulder back. Then go to the next one, which would be a pushing die, and then go with the mandrel or the pin gauge, and that way. And then that completes the sizing portion of my reloading.
That's an interesting idea, as opposed to using a sizing ball to.
The cases don't grow, okay, because you're pushing all the time. You're pushing down.
I would do it. Gardner Bender wire aid. If you're a Sparky, you know what that is. So
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, the best is the homemade Dillon lube, the lanolin and iso heater or rubbing alcohol. Or the problem with regular rubbing alcohol is it's only 78% alcohol. So it doesn't work. You got to get the actual stuff that's the 99%. That's why heat works. So
automotive heat, these guys are talking about. It's treatment for gas.
Yeah, just from the gas station.
Yep. Or Wally World or O'Reilly or AutoZone or Advance or Napa or CarQuest. Or
I believe the formula is what, 12-1, 12 parts heat, 1 part lanolin.
Some people will run 10-1.
Okay.
If they're using military, if they're doing military brass.
Gardner Bender wire aid. Are you talking about stuff for wire pulling through conduit?
Yep.
Okay.
This is a 550 setup with the body die, the sizing die, and this one, and then with a pin gauge in it. So that's that. This one's set up there.
So with that collet in there, you can jump a thou if you want, or drop a thou with your pin gauges? Is that a removable?
Yeah, that's removable. There's a collet here. Remove that. You can drop a half a thou, half a 10 thou. Okay, so you can adjust it to what you need to go through it. Look up Porter's Precision products. They're out of Texas, and they make pin gauge. They make mandrel dies, and they have a whole list of sizes that you can go through and pick what you feel that you need. So, and using Imperial sizing die wax and the dry neck lube, it just goes fast. And the hardest part is waiting for the auto trickler to get done as when you're actually loading. So
all right. So Chad, you got anything else you want to share with the folks?
If you take and look us up on Facebook, or you have any other questions, feel free to get a hold of me. My email's on there. You can send a message, and I'm always interested to hear. I always like seeing people's brass. I love when people send me pictures of their before and after brass. We've got a lot of customers that'll send pictures. I got a couple that shoot CMP. They shoot the Marine competition guns out at, I think it's 21 Palms. Got a
Okay.
couple guys that'll always send, they'll pick up brass at deer camp and send, yeah, here's the before, here's the after. I always like seeing that and putting it up on the page for people to see. But yeah, tbbullets.com. You can pick some up. Nice thing is shipping's included on all those prices. Travis is always really great about shipping, pretty much same day. But yeah, if anybody has any questions ever, please feel free to get a hold of me. There's two things I like talking about: reloading and shooting.
Chad, do you have an actual site or you piggyback?
I piggyback on somebody else's site.
No worries. It's fine. Cheaper that way.
Cheaper, a little easier. All I have to do is call him and tell him to change something.
Very good.
I'm just making a note before I forget on TV. So, all right, Chad. Well, we'll let you go. So, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much. I
Definitely
appreciate
appreciate it. And if you want to come back and talk reloading sometime, shoot me an email. We'll have you on.
Yeah. I always love talking reloading with people.
Awesome. It's so much fun. We love it.
Great.
So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
much. Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
You too. Good night.
All right. So, I want to talk about Patriot Patch Company for a minute. Jim,
Sir,
what do you got there?
what do I got? I
What
got
do you got?
something on my head. Got a patch that's too big for my hat. My wife has criticized it. But anyway, Ryan Cross came up with a good one this year. I see at least two suppressors on there. I see a scatter gun with a short slide. I see a Patriot-based flintlock, muzzle-loading flintlock. I see at least one AR out there. I see a SCAR. I see a 1911. And it says, "This I will defend, liberty." And here's a sticker for it. Now, forgive the glare, but it sure looks good to me.
Indeed.
Of course, this is all in reaction to something that happened 22 years ago on yesterday's date.
So,
Something that we call, somebody uses political correctness and calls it Patriots Day. I call it 9/11. 9/11.
yeah, they renamed it Patriots Day. So,
It's the very reason why I served some of my precious time in Saudi Arabia, 2002. I see a pretty picture up there, guys. I can't touch it, but look under the white hat on the hall tree. Right there.
there you go.
Right there. Look at that pretty picture. Me and my wife.
So a sweet picture. So,
Hell of a girl. Mikey, I'm going to take a runaway with Chad, all right?
sounds good.
Are you going to sign off on it right now? Or you still got more to go?
No, well, we got to talk about 4patriots.com.
Please do. I'll stick with it for the plugs.
All right. So, 4patriots.com. A lot of storms coming. Like we just had thunderstorms roll through. Paul had lost power a few weeks ago.
I had a lightning strike.
Jim got smoked. Jim got smoked by a hurricane a couple weeks ago. There's another one rolling across Florida. What are you going to do if you lose power? So, one of the things about 4Patriots is they've got their Patriot Power Generator 2000X. It's a solar generator. So, contrary to popular belief, you can still generate power from a solar panel if there's clouds out. No, you can't at night because there's no sunlight, but from dawn to dusk, as long as the sun is, as long as your panels are set correctly, and you can track, you can still um, generate power even if there's cloud cover. So, nice thing about that Patriot Power Generator 2000X, you can use it indoors, not gas powered. Run your fridge, run your microwave, charge the tablets for the kids so they don't go ballistic. One of the, families with kids, one of the big things is, and not all families, but a lot of families are so dependent on technology nowadays. The kids are used to their routines, and if you get the kids out of their routines, all of a sudden you lose power. So they're freaking out about that because now there's no power, and that means there's no air conditioning. So now they're warmer than they were, and now they can't go to their only escape that they have. You can't really send them outside because it's not safe to run around outside usually after a storm comes through or during storms. Um, so you got to come up with something. Use that Patriot Power Generator. You can recharge their tablets. You can keep your cell phone charged, in the event that you still have a cell service, because they've gotten better at protecting that network, even if the power's out. So, and if you have like cable telephone at home, you can still, use your cable telephone, or if you still have an old fashioned landline. That's one thing that people don't realize. Old fashioned landlines, unless the lines are down, you can have no power and your telephone still works if you literally have an old fashioned landline and not cable, because they're powered by different voltage. So, also, they've got survival food. They've got a whole bunch of other stuff. Check them out, forpatriots.com. Check out Jake and Ryan at Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. So, Matt Gorman, he said, what do they make to have the chips as a byproduct? They don't make anything as the chips are not a byproduct. The chips are specifically made. So he answered that in the beginning of the show. You might not have caught that if you were in the beginning. So, but the chips are not a byproduct of something else. The chips are specifically made. The shape and size and everything is specific. It's not a byproduct. It's not something that he found laying around and said, hey, they're throwing this away. Let's recycle it. So this is actually specifically made. So specifically cut. So once again, thanks to Chad for coming on, Southern Shine Media on Facebook. And TNB, it's tbbullets.com, and then on the top of the page, they've got a link for Southern Shine Media, so you can get it there. So Ben Chaddock's crying because he says if he loses power, then he'll have to switch over to the lead loader hand dies. Well, hey, got to be prepared. So, and worst case scenario, we get into another war. There's no guarantee the power grid's staying up, kids. So, but
I gave Brass Egg a nice white star for that one. That was cute.
So, and as you can see, we have merchandise now. We have t-shirts, we have tumblers. As soon as I get everything organized, I'll be putting in the order for all of the co-hosts, so they'll get their own mugs and tumblers, their own tumblers and shirts. A couple different shirt options, a couple different colors, a couple different mug options. Swing over, check them out. I've got the link. Honestly, nothing, Bench Addict. What could be possibly more important than keeping the reloading in progress? If we get to that point, nothing. So, it's Southern Gals Crafts. You can search there, and then on their homepage, they've got a link for the reloading. Otherwise, if you go to our reloading podcast page at the FRN network, Firearms Radio. We've got a link there. It's at the bottom of every show note. So we'll have a link in all of the show notes for the merchandise. If you'd like to get it, it helps out the podcast, and it's some pretty sweet stuff. So the shirt's nice and comfy, good sizes. So mugs are really nice. So the tumblers, mugs, whatever you want to call them, I suppose tumblers because they don't have a handle. So other than that, anybody got any shout outs? So Paul, you're muted.
Yeah, we're good here.
All right, cool. On that note, keep your brass shiny.
Otter Sigerson, good night to you, sir. Thank you. You are what? Wow. He just asked us if we're shipping overseas.
That's a good question, Otter. I will ask Chris Brannon and find out. So, but
Anyway, I just wanted to send you a shout out, Otter. We really appreciate your patronizing us.
yeah, let's see if it's. Notice he said patronizing and not patronizing. So, yeah, I don't know if they ship overseas or not. I will find out and let y'all know. So,
And, Grandpa told me a long time ago, he said, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems.
especially with explosives.
Mike, behave.
No.
That's effective.
Of course, explosives
Anyway.
are effective.
Somebody's got to
Anyway,
be straight man around here.
Since I think we're signing off, I usually sign off last. It's like support the Second Amendment, 2A all the way, 2A forever. 2A,
And
the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the Bill of Rights of the United States. Or I said that wrong. The Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights. Second Amendment line, Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the United States. There we go.
No, I got her. So, if you're in Chester County, Pennsylvania, keep your heads down. Keep your stuff locked. There's a big manhunt going on there. Guy crab walked his way out of a prison the other day. So, anyway. So Big Pap Q wants to know, I have a question. Are you guys reloaders? Yes, we are reloading. We are reloaders. We're signing off right now, so send us an email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com and we'll answer that for you. If you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255 or 988 from a cell phone. Reach out, get some help. So we need you here. We want you here. And it's important to do that. So on that note, good night.
Good night, y'all.
good night.